Size matters when it comes to choosing the right studio monitor, and today I'm going to explain to you why. I'll be discussing the pros and cons of each size studio monitor, how each studio monitor performs in different sized rooms, and at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you my personal experience with using different size studio monitors over the past 10 years and which size studio monitor that I prefer to use the most. Before we jump into our discussion about studio monitors, make sure to check out my free and paid packs for XFER Serum in the description below. My goal with making preset packs is to make packs so good that they eliminate the need for you to have to go and buy expensive synth plugins in order to achieve an industry standard sound. If you're a producer of future bass, future house, or any other melodic electronic genre, my packs are your best option for a pack that will help you achieve that industry standard sound. Let's jump into it! The size of the studio monitor is based on how large the subwoofer is at the bottom base of each studio monitor. So this is an 8-inch monitor here because the subwoofer size is 8 inches across. This is a 6-inch monitor and this is 6 inches across, and this is a 3-inch monitor because this is 3 inches across. The different size ranges for studio monitors is we have on the smaller side 3 to 5 inch studio monitors, and then there's the medium sized studio monitors which are 6 to 7 inches. Then we have large size studio monitors that range from 8 to 10 inches. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the pros and cons of each size studio monitor. These are the smallest studio monitors, and the pros with going with a smaller studio monitor in the range of 3 to 5 inches is that they are small. This means that these would be most convenient on workspaces of all sizes, and that these do very well in smaller environments like offices, apartments, and condos because they are the least likely to disturb your neighbors. And the reason for that is that the bass coming out of a studio monitor of this size is not that loud. Another pro of smaller studio monitors is that they are cheaper, so they work better with producers with small budgets or producers just starting out who are testing the waters to see if they would even stick with producing in the long run anyway. My final pro about having a smaller studio monitor is that they are very easy to travel with because of their small size. So that was the pros of going with a smaller studio monitor like this. Let's go ahead and discuss some of the cons. The main con of going with a small studio monitor like this is that the bass response is very weak. If you look at the subwoofer here, it's very small. So just hearing bass or mixing bass can be quite difficult on a studio monitor of this size. Alright guys, so now let's move on to our 6 to 7 inch monitors like this. And the pros of these monitors is that you really get the best of both worlds. They're not quite the biggest studio monitors, but they're also not the smallest, which makes these studio monitors just fine for bass heavy genres like electronic music, hip hop, and pop. The cons of this size studio monitor is that it is getting a little on the bulky side. So you could see, just comparing with the 3-inch studio monitor to the 6-inch studio monitor, that it is a really big jump in size. So if you're confined to a smaller workstation, you might have a more difficult time with a studio monitor of this size. Alright, so moving on to the 8 to 10 inch studio monitors, and the main pro with these is that the bass response is the best out of all the studio monitors in the range. So regardless of the genre that you're working in, you would be safest going with these studio monitors. The cons of these studio monitors is 1, they start to get pricey, and 2, they're very, very big. From top to bottom, this studio monitor is 15 inches tall and it is 10 inches wide, and it's about a foot deep. And that's a very similar size for other studio monitor brands that are the same size. So if you're confined to a smaller workstation or a smaller environment, these studio monitors will take up a lot of room. Also, traveling with a speaker of this size is very difficult because they're very, very heavy and they're very big. So you can't just pack them away in a suitcase like you can a smaller studio monitor. One last thing I wanted to talk about regarding larger studio monitors from 6 to 8 inches is that there's a big misconception that larger studio monitors don't do well in smaller rooms. And the truth is that smaller rooms generally affect studio monitors of all sizes, including the smallest studio monitors. Smaller rooms could actually compromise frequency ranges generated from these studio monitors all the way up into the mid-range. So this leads me to say that if you have the opportunity to set up your station in a larger room, you're probably better off doing that. However, this does not mean that if you are confined to a smaller space that you can't get a decent response out of any size of these studio monitors. It just might take you a little extra rearranging and testing of different positions of your studio monitors to see what would yield the best sound. Alright guys, so now I want to discuss my personal experience with using different sized monitors over the past 10 years. And I've had monitors in the smallest of rooms and the biggest of rooms. I've really been through every hurdle and struggle that you could possibly go through with using studio monitors. One of the most important things I've learned is that you want to get a listening system or a studio monitor setup that best relates to the audience that will be listening to your mixes or your songs. The modern day music listener will most likely be listening to your music on a system, whether it's in the car or an Apple earbud or a Bluetooth speaker, that is perfectly capable of generating a full range of frequencies. This means that your listening audience will most likely be hearing your music out of a speaker system that is fully capable of generating bass, a good strong mid-range, and a good strong high-end. So I truly do believe that you are safest going with a larger studio monitor if your environment will allow it, especially if you are in a bass-heavy genre like electronic music, pop music, or hip-hop music. And the studio monitor size that I've always preferred to use was the 8-inch studio monitor because I don't care, I need to hear bass. I don't care if I'm in a small room, I don't care what my room even looks like. I need to hear bass, and these give me the best bass response out of all of the studio monitors in the size range. And my final word of advice for anybody wondering about a studio subwoofer to generate more bass so that you can hear it better is that I think they're a little bit overkill. I think the bass that comes out of a subwoofer is just very, very loud, and I never needed that much bass response to be able to mix bass. The most you ever need to mix bass is a good set of studio monitors coupled with a good set of studio monitor headphones so that you can reference back and forth and accurately tackle that bass line or the entire mix for that reason. And so that is my thoughts on different size studio monitors. I hope I was able to clear up questions or misconceptions that you may have had with studio monitors. If you liked this video and would like to learn more about sound design, chord writing, melody writing, and every element of music production, come join me in my EDM Bootcamp. I have a link at the top of the description below. The EDM Bootcamp is not just a course, but it is an entire back-end mastermind group that is perfect for networking, collabing, and you can even receive unlimited feedback on your tracks from myself and the other students in the course. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check out the link at the top of my description below, and I'll see you in there. Stay tuned for next video.